Today I'm going to talk about what it means to be the people of the creator of the universe. That's quite a thing if you think, oh yeah, I'm one of God's people, but you don't really appreciate what that means, then it's something worth considering. In Exodus 3, verse 10, Yahovah says to Moshe who his people are. He says, my people, the children of Israel. And sometimes we can think of the children of Israel as just kind of a people group. But if we think what the phrase actually means, they are the children of the man Israel. They're his offspring. Yahovah made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob, of course, was renamed Israel, or given the name Israel also. And he looks to those people to make covenant with him. He looks to their children, their offspring, those who came after them. If I try to imagine what it would be like to see a family on the earth who pleased me, who walked by faith. They weren't always perfect, but they listened to my voice if I was Elohim. Looking to people who would do that afterwards makes sense, that you would make covenant with those people on the earth when the earth was populated by those with all sorts of weird ideas and who were greedy, who tried to profit themselves, didn't really understand who Elohim is. I can imagine wanting to go to those people and say, these people are my people. In Exodus 7:4, I don't know where this was, it just says it was after Moshe returned to Yahovah, so maybe at the burning bush. And Pharaoh is not going to listen to you, and I shall lay my hand on Egypt and bring my divisions, that's my Sevaot, my armies, and my people, the children of Israel. So again, he says his people are those who are the offspring of Israel, Yisrael, or Yaakov, or Jacob, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. They'd gotten themselves in a bad situation in Egypt under the hand of an evil Pharaoh who didn't know Joseph, one of Jacob's sons, who was fearful of the people and acted in that kind of underhand way that people are prone to, where they're all about their own self-interest. He didn't trust Yahovah. He didn't know of Yahovah's purpose, presumably. So he acted fearfully and in a way to benefit himself. And the children of Israel found themselves under bondage in Egypt. And that's the situation that we see here, where Yahovah steps in and he rescues these people, these favored people on the earth. In Exodus 5:1, it says, and afterwards Moshe and Aaron went in and said to Pharaoh, thus said Yahovah Elohim of Israel. So the term God of Israel is used there. Let my people go. It wasn't Moses that said, let my people go. Moses and Aaron came in and said, Yahovah says, let my people, Yahovah's people, go. And he's identified here as God of Israel. Exodus 7 verse 16, we see Yehovah identified differently, not as the God of Israel, but the God of the Hebrews. Here, you shall say to him, Yehovah the Elohim of the Hebrews has sent me to you, saying, let my people go. Importantly, so that they serve me in the wilderness. Part of us being freed from bondage to sin is so that we can be a servant of righteousness, a servant rather of Yehovah, to be his people. And he is Elohim over the entire world, controlling all things, and we are his people to do service to him, to walk in those good works to which we were appointed, that he knew beforehand we would turn to and walk in. In Exodus 8:1 it says, and Yehovah spoke to Moshe, go to Pharaoh and say to him, thus said Yehovah, let my people go so that they serve me. So all of the book of, the beginning of the book of Exodus, the first sort of 16 chapters, is Yehovah seeing the plight of his people, those people whom he favors on the earth, those people that he likes, that he made a covenant with their forefathers. He sees their plight and he frees them from Egypt with great works, with signs and wonders. And of course we know that this is a picture of the fact that we are released from bondage in the world, Egypt being a picture of the world, and Yehovah goes to similarly extraordinary lengths to free us from that bondage. We might not appreciate it because we're not seeing, plagues of frogs and all sorts of other things that were more discernible visibly. You're actually in that situation. But Yehovah has gone to extraordinary lengths in order for you to be set free from sin. Not least, of course, most, that he became flesh and he died that you could be redeemed. He paid the ransom price for you that you could be redeemed. Exodus 8:20 says, thus said Yehovah, this is what they're to tell Pharaoh, or what Moshe is. Thus said Yehovah, let my people go, so that they serve me. And he is Elohim to us, and we are his people. Now these people were actually a group of people, a family on the earth at this point. For us, it is those who choose Yehovah, who turn to him and choose him, that he says that he will be their Elohim. But when they have just come out of Egypt, we see in Leviticus 26 verse 12, Yehovah said, and I shall walk in your midst, and shall be your Elohim, and you shall be my people. Ultimately, of course, they choose something else. They choose their own way, their own idea of right and wrong, whatever it is that leads them astray from what Yehovah has given them. But this was what could have been theirs. They could have decided Yehovah will be our Elohim, we will be his people, yes, that carries certain responsibilities, but that's how we want things. But they didn't. And now we have the opportunity through the new covenant to turn to Him in faith. Paul actually mentions this verse in 2 Corinthians 6. He says, "What union has the dwelling place of Elohim with idols? For you are a dwelling place of the living Elohim. As Elohim has said, I shall dwell in them and walk among them, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Therefore, come out from among them and be separate, says Yehovah, and do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you." That's from Isaiah, I believe. "And I shall be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says Yehovah the Almighty." So we have this kind of language which is like marriage language. I will take you as my people, I will be your God. But we have a number of metaphors by which we can understand the relationship with Yehovah. Paul's actually quoting from 3 distinct pieces of scripture here, and he quotes from Leviticus 26, but he links it to other scriptures where we are invited to be sons and daughters of the living Elohim, and also, importantly, to a scripture which talks about coming out from amongst what is unclean and being separate, which is, of course, what Israel are. They are separate from the other nations. The other nations have other gods. We have Yehovah. Jeremiah 11, 10-16 says, "They have turned back to the crookednesses or iniquities of their forefathers, who refused to hear my words, and they have gone after other gods to serve them. The house of Israel and the house of Yehudah have broken my covenant I made with their fathers. Therefore thus said Yehovah, see, I am bringing evil on them which they are unable to escape. Then they shall cry out to me, but I shall not listen to them. And the cities of Yehudah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall go and cry out to all the gods to whom they burn incense, but they shall bring no deliverance or salvation to them at all in their time of evil. For your gods have become as many as your cities, O Yehudah, Judah, and you have set up as many altars to shame as there are streets in Jerusalem, altars to burn incense to Baal. And you, Jeremiah, do not pray for this people, or lift up a cry or prayer for them, for I do not hear them in the time that they cry out to me because of their evil." So they were offered the opportunity to be Yehovah's people. They were his people, but they turned from him. "Why should my beloved be in my house? She has done wickedness with many, and does the set apart or holy flesh remove your evil from you. Then you rejoice." In other words, do you think that offering a sacrifice after sinning makes up for the sin? Does that make it all okay? Yehovah has named you green olive tree, beautiful, of goodly fruit, with the noise of a great sound he has set it on fire, and its branches shall be broken. We see Yeshua and John the Baptist talking about the burning of the branches that don't bear fruit. But Israel, the house of Judah and the house of Israel, together the house of Jacob or Israel, they are named green olive tree, and they are Yehovah's people, but we can be partakers of the olive tree. Romans 11:17 says, if some of the branches were broken off, which we just heard about, and you being a wild olive tree have been grafted in among them, and came to share the root and fatness of the olive tree. So Yehovah's people are the children of Israel. We can come to partake of the good things that they have and the good things that are promised to them by being grafted in as a wild olive tree grafted in among the natural olive tree. We can actually take the state that we are in, defiled with sin and the things of the world, and we can come out and be separate from that and be holy and be set apart for Yehovah's use. Isaiah 56:2-3 says, blessed is the man who does this, and the son of man who lays hold on it, guarding the Sabbath, lest he profane it, and guarding his hand from doing any evil. Let not the son of the foreigner who has joined himself to Yehovah speak, saying, Yehovah has certainly separated me from his people. We can be, by virtue of what we do, separated from his holy people, but he is abundant in grace and love and compassion, and to those who would join themselves to that holy nation, he welcomes them with open arms, so to speak. Ephesians 2:11-13 says, therefore remember that you once Gentiles in the flesh, who were called the uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision, made in the flesh by hands, that at that time you were without Messiah, excluded from the citizenship of Israel, strangers from the covenants of promise, having no expectation and without Elohim in the world. But now in Messiah Yeshua, you who were once far off have been brought near by the blood of Messiah. The covenants that were made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are now things that we can access by faith. Ephesians 2 later tells us, so then you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens. So we are Israel. We are the people that Yehovah would look at and say, they are my people. Ephesians 3, the next chapter, says, in reading this then, you are able to understand my insight into the secret of Messiah, which was not made known to the sons of men in other generations, as it has now been revealed by the Spirit to his holy or set apart apostles and prophets, the Gentiles to be co-heirs, united in the same body, and partakers together in the promise in Messiah through the good news that we can be a part of Yehovah's people. In Galatians, Paul writes, even so Abraham did believe Elohim, and it was reckoned unto him as righteousness. Know then that those who are of faith or belief are sons of Abraham. And the scripture, having foreseen that Elohim would justify or declare right the nations by faith or belief, announced the good news to Abraham beforehand, saying, all the nations shall be blessed in you, so that those who are of faith or belief are blessed with Abraham the believer. And what an incredible blessing it is to be counted as the people of Yehovah. It's not a title that we can take for ourselves, as many are prone to do. In Micah 1:1-3 talks about the other nations, those who have not heard the word of Yehovah. And I want to look a little bit at Micah to understand the precious gift that we have been given to be set apart from the nations, and look at the fact that they will come to recognize this incredible thing that we have been given, that they count as so little now. The word of Yehovah that came to Micah of Moresheth in the days of Jotham, Ahaz, Chizkiah, kings of Yehudah, which he saw concerning Shomeron, which is Samaria. Think the 10 tribes in the north, and Jerusalem, think Judah and the house of Judah. Hear, all you peoples, listen, O earth, and all who are in it, and let the Master Yehovah be a witness against you, Yehovah from his set apart or holy temple. For look, Yehovah is coming out of his place, and he shall come down and shall tread on the high places of the earth. So at this point, you want to be one of his people, because with patience he has suffered the vessels of wrath prepared for destruction. But there will come a moment when he will not destroy his people, but he will destroy all of the wickedness that surrounds them. Micah 4:1-5 says, and in the latter days it shall be that the mountain of the house of Yehovah is established on the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and the people shall flow to it. And many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of Yehovah, to the house of the Elohim of Yaakov, and let him teach us his ways. It's something that's valued at that point. Man might think that they've got a better way of doing things, that they've worked out, the best way to structure a society or whatever it may be. But at this point, people actually recognize the wisdom that comes from Yehovah. And it's funny to think about, things couldn't have worked out differently than the way that he purposed them to be, for man to come to a position where they're actually asking him for the wisdom. He can declare all that he wants, that he is wise, and if people would listen to him, things would go well. But the nature of man is that they want to choose something and decide something for themselves. And in his wisdom and brilliance, he knew that they were like that, and he brings about events which make them think that they've come to this conclusion for themselves, or something like that. He orchestrates all events to bring about his end in the end. And man, we will see, kind of has their own idea about doing things. They worship their own gods, but ultimately He brings everything into subjection to him, even the arrogance of man. So it says, and let us walk in his paths. For out of Zion comes forth the Torah, and the word of Yehovah from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many peoples, and reprove strong nations afar off. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither teach battle any more. But each one shall sit under his vine, under his fig tree, that's the nations, not Israel, with no one to make them afraid. For the mouth of Yehovah Sabaoth has spoken. So we have the benefit of this knowledge right now. The nations will come to appreciate it. Verse 5 says, for all the peoples walk, each one in the name of his God, but we walk in the name of Yehovah, our Elohim, forever and ever, as, of course, Yehovah's people. And I will end with a piece of scripture which I find to be very rousing and inspiring to consider when I'm thinking of who Yehovah is, who I am in relation to him, that he would have called people on the earth to his cause, to achieve his purpose and his will. And it's found in Deuteronomy 4. In your distress, when all these words shall come upon you in the latter days, different latter days than the ones mentioned in Micah, perhaps, then you shall return to Yehovah your Elohim, and shall obey his voice. For Yehovah your Elohim is a compassionate Ale. He does not forsake you, nor destroy you, nor forget the covenant of your fathers, which he swore to them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before you, since the day that Elohim created man on the earth, and ask from one end of the heavens to the other end of the heavens, whether there has been a word as great as this, or has been heard like it. Has a people heard the voice of Elohim speaking out the midst of the fire, as you have heard, and live? Or has Elohim tried to go and take for himself a nation from the midst of a nation by trials, by signs, by wonders, and by battle, by a strong hand, and by an outstretched arm, and by great fearsome deeds, according to all that Yehovah your Elohim did for you in Egypt before your eyes? Of course, this is spoken by Moshe to a people who actually saw all these things, but they have correlates in our life. You have been shown it to know that Yehovah himself is Elohim. There is no one beside him. From the heavens he let you hear his voice to instruct you, and on earth he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words out the midst of the fire. And because he loved your fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought you out of Egypt with his presence and his great power, to drive out from before you nations greater and stronger than you, to bring you in, to give you their land as an inheritance, as it is today. And of course, we will go in to possess the land also. And you shall know today, and shall record to your heart, that Yehovah himself is a Elohim in the heavens above, and on the earth beneath there is none else. And you shall cherish his laws and his commands, which I command you today, so that it is well with you and with your children after you, and so that you prolong your days on the soil which Yehovah your Elohim is giving you for all time. So that is what it is to be his people. That's how he sees us as his people. They are the things that he has promised to us, has offered to us, that we can take hold of right now. So if you're you just going through your life and you don't feel part of some great thing which is happening, maybe that is necessary for you to gain some kind of perspective on what is actually happening, because what is happening is a great thing, and Yehovah is shepherding his people to a time of blessing and abundance on the earth, and he's gathering them to himself slowly, but he is patient. He will do these things slowly. We have such an incredible promise that is given to us that the nations just have no idea about whatsoever. They can't even conceive of what it is to be the people of the Creator of the heavens and the earth. But we are given that opportunity, and we are also given all of this depth about exactly what it is that we're called to, that we can kind of reflect upon, that we can meditate upon. Yehovah willing, I'll see you next week.